In today's times, your relationships might be the key if you make it or you do not make it through the crisis. And no one could tell us better than Lindsay Adams. And Lindsay Adams does not only live in Australia, which is, let's face it, and he's working around the world, not the closest place, especially from our point of view here in Europe. He also has his tagline, drive your business networking success with strong, empowering, and meaningful relationships. And not only that, he is the only person globally in the speaking world who was presented the Order of Australia Medal for his services to the professional speaking industry by the governor. Hello and welcome, Lindsay Adams.
G'day, Niels. How are you, mate? Great to be here.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'm very good. Thank you very much for taking the time, and we get straight into it. When we talk about relationships right now, people often say online isn't really the same. So how do I do my relationship-based business when I can't meet people?
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference whether it's face-to-face or online. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. My eldest brother taught me networking. He's a great, what I called, keeper-in-toucherer. And he kept in touch with people by phone, by email, by letter writing. Letter writing. I mean, he's a lot older than me. But, relationships really, it's about connecting with a person and staying in touch with that person on a regular basis. And regular, what's regular? Well, regular is once a year, and it could be once a year. But in a business perspective, I suggest people stay in touch with their key clients, once every 30 days. Just say hello. How are you? And which is something that I've been doing a lot during the COVID crisis, is just keeping in touch with people, saying hello. Hello, how are you? And that's really significant, Niels.
Yeah. So would you say, because often people say, when I now try to keep in touch, you say, just say hello. No sales at all, because let's face it, I run a business, we have a crisis, I need to make income.
Yeah, sure. And so here's the interesting thing. By calling up people and saying, hey, hello, how's it going? So you have a conversation, and then sooner or later they circle around to, what are you up to? And I go, well, actually, since the lockdowns come, I've changed my business model, and I'm now doing deliveries online. I'm doing coaching online. And so they go, wow, oh, how are you doing that? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, actually, could you do something for us? Well, yes, I could. Now, does that happen in every conversation? No, it doesn't. But, 3, 4 times out of 10, something comes. And if they don't ask me about that, then I will let them know. I will steer the conversation toward the fact that I'm doing business in a different way now. And, just simply letting them know what I'm up to. Now, sometimes they bite, sometimes they don't, and that's okay. But if you have a relationship with that person and you work on that relationship, you maintain that connection, then they are more open to doing business with you no matter what.
That's now a very interesting point, because when I prepared for this interview, many people said, I feel when I try to move the conversation towards the bit where I say I'm about that, it always feels a bit pressured, salesy, it feels a bit pushy towards the other person. What do I do wrong, or how can people drive the communication, the situation, to the point where they can talk about their services without being salesy?
Well, think about the law of reciprocity here. So, I give you something, you give me something back in return. And the Hare Krishna are the world leaders at this. I don't know if you've ever bumped into them in the street. They give you a little flower, a gift, and then they say, would you give us, or one of their books, and then they say, would you give us a few coins to cover the cost of printing? So they've given you a gift, and then you feel obliged to give them a few coins to cover the cost of printing. Now, Robert Cialdini wrote Psychology, or Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, years ago. It's a classic book. And in it, he talks about the 6 laws of influence, one of which is the law of reciprocity. So the conversation goes like this. So, Niels, what have you been up to lately? And so you tell me, now, what's the logical question that you would ask after you've told me, what have you been up to? You go,
what have you been up to? Yeah.
What have you been up to? And there's your chance. Now, You don't say, well, I've got a new sales program and I'd like to sell it to you. You say, well, during these interesting times, I've, had to reshape my business and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So you just conversationally share some of the things that you think would fit for them. And then it's up to them to go, wow, that's exciting, I'm interested, or just, wow, that's exciting. And it's okay if they just say, wow, that's exciting, and leave it at that. Because you don't want to be a pushy salesperson. You just want to be a good connector and have a relationship. And so, think about it. It's like the farmer who sows a seed. If you sow a seed and you water it and you look after it, something will shoot and germinate and grow from that. Now, that, you may sow a seed and they may think about it and come back to you later and go, I was thinking about our conversation. Tell me more about this this coaching program you're doing. Tell me more about how you're doing your stuff online. It's just, being open to sharing what you're up to.
So when now some people say, sounds good to me, but I am, let's say, introvert, or people say, I am not good at sales, I'm not good at marketing, or people just say, this doesn't fit my personality. Do you think it's just an excuse of not wanting to learn, or are there people who naturally don't really fit into that kind of networking?
Yeah, look, I think anyone can do relationships. Hard selling is harder for some people. Yeah, of course it is. Any introvert, however, can work at relationship. And so if you are in relationship, then the selling, people will buy from you. One of the programs I teach is there are 4 basic behavioral styles, and 11% of the population love to be sold to. The rest want to buy from you. So give them something to buy. Talk conversationally about what you're up to. Show them your wares, but don't offer to sell it to them. Just get them interested. Create a magnetic conversation where they are drawn to the product or service that you're telling them about.
So when we talk about the situation which we have now, especially in our industry, training, coaching, consulting, and some people actually only do keynote speaking, do you think there are certain products where you would say that don't sell at the moment or might not sell at all anymore in the future?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. The keynote speaking model certainly is struggling at the minute. I'm aware of a number of my speaker friends who are, serially unemployed at the moment. They're just kind of given up the ghost. And then there are others who are saying, well, I can still do a presentation from the luxury of my home office and, with good sound and reasonable lighting, you can still give a great presentation. So it really comes down to, again, that relationship thing. And are people aware that you have that capability? So, I think certainly the COVID situation has impacted the keynoting industry, but people are still making presentations. Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. So when people are now sitting there and think, that sounds good to me, but I don't really know where to start. Lindsay Adams' to wrap up the whole interview, what are Lindsay Adams' top 3 tips when it comes to relationship building and networking? What should people do right now? Your top 3 tips.
So what should people do right now? Make how are you calls, number 1. Make the call about them and not you. And then finally, number 3, let them know at some stage of the call what you're up to at the minute. And if you have enough relationship and you have nurtured that relationship, good things will come.
Then, of course, I have to add one more tiny question at the very end. How do I know when the right time for the call is? Because we might have all experienced the moment where you just call someone in the nicest way possible and their answer is, you know what, mate, we really have something else on our mind at the moment. Please just stop. So how do I know when is the right moment?
Sure. So you never know when the right moment is, Niels, and it's simply, it goes something like this. Hey, Niels, Lindsay here. How are you, mate? Just rang up to check and see how you're going. Is now a good time to speak? And I always say that at the start of any conversation. And it's up to you then, Niels, to say to me, you know what, Lindsay, no, now is not a good time to speak. And I'll go, fine. When would it suit? I'll call you back.
So what would you say? Because that, of course, then I have one very last question, absolutely last now. So you know that some sales speakers and coaches, and we all know them, some say that there's always a good time and they use certain phrases to bring people to a conversation when I call you. So they say you shouldn't ask, is it the right time? Because that is too soft, and they will tell no because they know you want to sell something. You need to say X, Y, Z, so they talk to you anyway. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Well, good luck to them. I'm more respectful. I'm more relationship based. That's just heavy selling. And so if the person says to me, it's not a good time, it's not a good time. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy to circle back around in a week, in a fortnight, in a month's time. And, if you have a genuine relationship, they will want to talk to you.
Yeah. So that is, of course, fantastic material. I'm going to put your contact data in the show notes of this podcast. So when you want to get in touch directly with Lindsay, or you want to book him as a speaker for your conference, just get in touch with him. The contact data is right here in the show notes of this podcast. And at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing for me left to say. Lindsay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Niels.